Hi, this is Kim Victoria with another Baby Steps to Drawing Success video, and today we are going to do this cat face. And animals are a wonderful thing to draw, but they move a lot. So taking photographs of them is great. And I chose, this is Jet. This is our white cat. He actually has a black tail. But he is this nice white cat, which is great for drawing right now, because when you start getting into the pattern that is on cat faces and dog faces and things like that, and color, it creates some confusion as to where to start. So by having a nice photo of our friend here, we can just see shapes, the important shapes, the things that you need to think about first, no matter how stripy your cat face is, or brindled your dog, or any of those things. So we've already been talking about circles and ovals and getting a little bit into proportions and making decisions. So we're going to just do a portrait face of this cat, our friend Jet. And the first thing that you want to think about when you're doing a cat face is not the eyes, not the eyes or the nose. What you want to think about, and this is a Rembrandt thing, I learned this by studying Rembrandt, is that you want to start just like we were starting with a cup or a flower, something simple. We want to start with this big outside shape. There is a big outside shape, and I'm looking at this in relationship to this picture plane. So whether this is a piece of paper or a canvas that you're going to paint on, this idea is the same, is that you want to see where this is in relationship to this space. And we know the back of his body is going to go over here somewhere, and we're just testing things right now. We're just looking for what things are. And so we want his face to kind of fit in this enclosure, because that's how big we want it in this whole picture plane. So I've drawn something of a square. Now I'm used to eyeballing it. So with practice, you get really good at eyeballing it. So now I'm going to look at that face, and I'm going to do the measuring that we went over in a previous video. And if I measure across to the base of the ears and from the top of the ears, so if this is the base of the ears somewhere in here, and we're looking at the very tops of the ears somewhere in here, and we're looking from here to here, how far is it down to here? And what I am seeing when I measure this, how about that? It comes to his mouth is right in here. So right in here is his mouth. But his mouth is not, the way he's looking at us right now, is not exactly in the center. It's a little bit over here. So let's go ahead and kind of indicate that mouth is over here somewhere. And that gives us, we're starting to get some construction going here. So now if we look at, okay, ears, sides of ears, we've got a chin down here. We start to see some diagonals. But before we get into that, let me find what is the relationship of the line of the eyes. We know we want the whole thing to fit in this box. But if we look at, I'm going to look at the horizontal line of the eyes. Oh, yeah. So if we look at our little box here, the eyes are not halfway. They're right below halfway. So the eyes fall into there somewhere. Because, yes, because we've got our ears from here to here, you're about halfway. So I'm just measuring. So our ears, our eyes are here and our ears end right around here. The other thing you can see that's starting to happen is we can be thinking about this. It's a geometry. We're starting with a square, but then we also have kind of a center line happening here. And you'll start to notice things about ears, that they're pointing. And what I do is I'll hold the pencil on an angle, and that will show me that the ears have this kind of diagonal aspect. Yep. Yeah, the ears have a diagonal line that comes down. And it helps us to find the eyes. Everything is in relationship. It's very important to be thinking about everything visually is in relationship to the other visual things that we're seeing. Everything is in relationship. And this takes practice to start really seeing these relationships. And the other thing that I'm seeing is if we're looking, okay, here's our kind of our mouth area, and we're thinking about the width of the nose, and the eyes are in that width area. If we go straight up, we are also seeing some of that with the ears, where the ears are going. It's very interesting. I'm seeing a little adjustment here. So now that we're starting to see some of these things happening, we also see a little bit of a diagonal. And we're seeing a little bit of a diagonal here. And you can hold your pencil up to your photograph, or if your animal is very still or whatever you're looking at is still, you can go hold this implement that you're using, pen, pencil, paintbrush, and then just kind of keep that position and bring it down. And it can give you a very good idea of where things are. All right. Oh, now, okay. So now when I start to see where the ears are, and if this is the top of the head is just a little bit higher, and we can see there is a diagonal aspect to those ears, isn't there? And there's some very interesting things happening. I'm drawing this in a completely different way than I think you've probably seen before. But this is how Rembrandt and Michelangelo, and then we get into Renoir and Monet, and what they were seeing were these angles of relationship. And I'm starting to see where all of these lines come together. And here's the side of one eye, and there's the side of another eye. And we can see that the center of the eye is coming like that way, connecting with the ear. We're starting to see these things, and I'm being a little more I'm using a little stronger strokes so that you can see what I'm doing. And this isn't, we don't have it exact yet. I'm still finding things. I'm still measuring and looking for things. I see our distances here are very similar to where the top of the nose is. And we have this similar angle here. It's just amazing. When you start looking at things in this way, you start to see how similar we have this angle, we have this angle, we have this angle. We start to see these angles coming together. We also can start to see how the cheek lines up with, yeah, the side of the eye. There's the cheek shape starts coming in there. And we've got a little bit of a jaw shape coming in there. And I'm just looking at these as angles and shapes. Can you start to see this face starting to emerge? And I haven't been thinking about face per se. I've been thinking about how these different angles and everything come together. We're starting to see this shape coming up. Aha. So I'm just looking for these relationships. See, I can use my hand as a pivot too to start giving me some. And we can see that the line of the back comes out about the middle of the eye over here. And we've got a shoulder line coming down, pretty much straight in line there. We're getting it started. We're getting it started. So you can start to see how this face is emerging, and then we can start doing some refinements to it. You know, he really is a beautiful boy. And we can see that this has a little bit more of an angle to it. And we want these things to line up. We want these top of the eyes to line up, the bottom of the eyes to line up. We want to look at where is the angle of the nose in relationship. It's like, it's right there. It's right there. There's all of these triangulations, if you will. There's all of these things happening. It's really fascinating. So this is how the old masters would have done it. They would have been looking for all of these angles, these shapes. And the more you get into it, it's just then you can just start refining things more and more. This is a rather complex subject. And if I were going to then pursue this into a watercolor painting, of course, I would have put it on a watercolor paper. But we can really see that, a little bit of that cheek shadow coming in. But just imagine if you were trying to deal with a lot of stripes and everything right now. And what I wanted you to see with this nice, simple white face is the features and the structure. And I wanted you to see that. I want you to be looking at your dog, your cat, your horse, your bird. We'll go into these different animals, but what I want you to start seeing is first, there's the big shape. What is the relationship between the horizontal and the vertical of the big shape? Where are these things in relationship? So the halfway mark of our box, our original little box that we were drawing, is about halfway, and it comes down the side and the nose. And you could just start finding, you're finding things. It's a very different approach. You're not trying to just start with an eye and copy the eye. You want to find the eye. And this is developing your vision, developing how you see things. And there's all this wonderful little nuances. And I get very excited about the old masters techniques because they make everything so much easier if you give it a go and give it a good chance to experience it. And then gradually you can just start developing all these little different things that are going on. And we know there's a little bit of an oval there, but not much of one. It was in some pretty bright light. We start to see the cat face emerge. And then we can take this drawing as far as we want to go with it. Now, right now, I'm going to leave you with that because this is so important to be thinking about a different approach. And this is, just give it a go, okay? And I'd love to hear what you have to say about this because this is a very different approach than what you're used to seeing. And probably a lot of drawing tutorials would say start with this oval. But the oval was created by creating the box. And the oval just happened. I loved it when my art teacher said, notice how the image is just starting to appear. And you're not efforting at it. You're just taking your time. You're exploring. You're going like, oh, what does this connect to? What is the relationship between this line and this part of the face, and what is this line and this part, and where does the relationship from here to here? What is the you're dancing with this visual image and looking for these indicators. So let me know what you think of this. And if this was too much, we'll break it down even more. And so here we go. This is the lesson for today. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye for now.